Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio while we're on Saga 960. We've been chatting tonight with a really interesting young lady who came to Canada when she was 12 years old as a refugee, didn't speak any English, went to ESL classes for several years, excelled, did really well, learned English in addition to 4 other languages, so she currently speaks 5, went to York University, got her law degree, came back, went to do a law degree in the UK, came back, got her equivalency done in Canada, to get called to the bar, articled, and is now a lawyer. And I wanted to talk about this because I think it is an incredible example of a counter to a lot of what the current media attention is, and social media attention on refugees, asylum seekers, immigrants, foreign students, etc. Because I really think the story might be different than what we hear way too often. I think that immigration is what's built this country, built the United States as well. And I think a lot of the people that leave wherever they're leaving from and come to Canada, whether it's by way of asylum or refugee or immigration or whatnot, are often the people that are the most entrepreneurial, the most enterprising, the most resilient, because they're leaving the situation that they're in. They're leaving the status quo and taking a brave new chance and opportunity on something new. And I think that's what's built our country. And I think that too often we end up, seeing this as a negative, and so seeing the immigration as a negative, and particularly of late when people with this very highly increased level of immigration have been complaining about it. And I wanted to really address this with the one example that we chatted with about today, but also make a couple of other points if I could. So I do think there's an issue in regards to foreign students, and I want to come back to that if I could. That said, even on foreign students, I think that maybe some of the problem is that we're not funding some of our universities to the extent that we could and should. And so therefore what they're doing is they're going out to attract foreign students as a way of keeping the tuition costs for domestic students down. I do think some of these private colleges that have gone out to recruit foreign students may have gone too far. I also think that the housing issue has been blown out of proportion, and I don't think that foreign students or refugees or immigrants are the cause of our housing affordability issue. I think the cause of our housing affordability issue has been development fees and regulatory red tape. I do think that from a student housing standpoint, universities have not been playing the role that they should and need to, which is in regards to building student housing. And often to make that at all affordable, what they've got to do is they've got to put their land in for free and then get the private sector or themselves involved in actually building the housing. And I do think that that's an issue. That aside, let's talk about immigration. The basic premise is that our country doesn't have a birth rate that is equal to the replacement level. And so therefore, the working age population is going down and will continue to go down. It'll become precarious for our social services standpoint in the next 10 years or so. And the basic statistics are that, a couple of years ago, call it 5 or 10 years ago, there were 5 people working for every one person that was a pensioner and drawing on pensions and healthcare and long-term care, et cetera. That number has gone down precipitously, and some people think it's going to be like 2 to 1 sometime in the next 10 years or so, as obviously the baby boom ages, gets into their senior years, and most importantly, that time period as a senior expands with increases in longevity. We cannot support our healthcare system, our long-term care system. Our pensions, thankfully, are pre-funded, but the balance of the costs that society incurs to support our seniors, I'm going to be one of them, is not there if we allow our population to stay stagnant or shrink. We need to grow our population, and that's one of the reasons why we have increased our immigration levels. Also, I've done a couple of shows, and I'd be happy to send links to people that question this. on the statistics on our immigration program, and it's not perfect. No immigration program is perfect, but versus all of the criticism that our immigration program gets, many countries look to Canada as a great example of how to run an immigration program. That we favor economic immigrants to a substantial amount, and entrepreneurial immigrants that come with cash to start businesses. I don't think that's the problem. The problem may be that, frankly, when they get here, we end up too often restricting them from becoming doctors or nurses or engineers or lawyers or whatnot, because of the different associations and regulatory bodies that they've got to get approvals from, and or from an educational standpoint, that we don't recognize the education that they got from a foreign institution. And so therefore they end up driving Ubers or doing whatever it is that they end up doing. So attracting economic immigrants and attracting economic immigrants that come with substantial amounts of capital investment in businesses is a smart strategy. What is not done right is, once they're here, making sure that they've got great jobs and that we recognize their credentials and we allow them into the professions that they're qualified to be involved in. I do think that Australia and New Zealand, which really promote people getting job offers before they come, makes a lot of sense. And that's something that we don't do. And there's been several studies that have suggested that would be an improvement on our current immigration program. Some of people in social media and some people have been criticizing the levels of immigration for causing the housing crisis. I think that is, wrong. CMHC and other people said we need 3.5 million extra homes than we're currently building to house, to realize any kind of level of affordability, and we're not coming close to that. If anything, it's getting worse. Immigration levels are maybe 500,000 or 300,000 more than we thought. That's not causing the problems. That's causing, at margin, some of the problem. The problem in housing is multifold, and I think it is primarily lack of supply because of municipal red tape, development fees, high cost of land, infrastructure, transit, lack thereof, etc. And it's development fees and municipal red tape, the time to get approvals, more than almost anything. I also think that, frankly, some of the criticism is misplaced, because for a typical condominium to get built, it's got to sell 75 or maybe 70% of the condominiums before they actually ever get the construction financing. And as people have criticized immigrants and or foreign buyers and or Airbnb, what they've done is they've taken the marginal investor out of the marketplace. And owner-occupied units are maybe 30, 40% of condominium sales. So what they're doing is that they're making it harder to actually get to that 70 to 75% level, which means less condos are getting the pre-sales they need, and therefore not getting the financing, and therefore not getting built. And so arguably, by taking out that marginal buyer, that's the foreign buyer, the immigrant, the Airbnb buyer, etc., you're actually making the whole situation worse rather than better, which is one of those things that we always talk about, the unintended consequences of policy decisions. So I think that some of these politicians and social media people that are saying, oh, foreign buyers are the problem and we need a foreign buyer tax, or Airbnb is the problem, we should outlaw Airbnb, or it's immigrants that are a problem, we should restrict our immigration levels, are potentially actually making the housing affordability situation worse, not better, because they're taking out that marginal buyer. They're making it more difficult to get to that 70% pre-construction condo sold. No construction financing, therefore you don't build. And so therefore you don't get the increased supply for everyone else that would have been enjoying it. I also think that we've got to take a look at the type of people. And today's interviewee is one example, but there's a myriad, obviously, a plethora of examples of some of the most successful people. One of the things that I did at one point in time was I wrote a paper on Silicon Valley and the success of Silicon Valley. More than 50% of the startup businesses that end up being successful in Silicon Valley were started by foreign students that were in the United States on visas that ended up staying and starting businesses. It's the opposite of a brain drain. It's a brain attraction. We don't give that credit. We have a lot of people that are coming here with incredible skills, incredible entrepreneurial drive, incredible capabilities, and they're building this country. We should give them credit, and we should realize the benefit they bring to our society. So I think that we should think about immigration as a strength, as one of our superpowers. Do we have to make sure that they're qualified? Do we have to make sure that with those qualifications they get recognized, and then with that recognition they get jobs and or can start businesses? No question. Do we have to increase housing so that they've got a place to live? No question. Should we be providing incentives or qualifications such that there's a better, higher propensity that they'll learn either English or French? No question. So are there some issues that we need to address? Yes. But bottom line, immigration is what built our country, because the people that came here, my forefathers, probably your fathers and mothers, were some of the most enterprising, entrepreneurial, resilient, dynamic people that came from wherever they came from. The people that were in their status quo stayed. I used to work for Jimmy Pattison. He always used to say, eagles soar, turkeys squat. I think we got the eagles. And we should be thankful that the eagles came here to Canada and settled and made dynamic business opportunities, communities, cultures, jobs, professions, built our country. That's my 2 cents on this topic. Thanks for joining me tonight. I remind you I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca. All my podcasts and videos go up on my website, briancrombie.com, and on social media as soon as the radio show goes to air. Thanks. Good night. Bye-bye.